Can a wicked man trick his way to true love with a fake face? Watch Lord George, London's naughtiest lord, try to win Jenny's heart with a saintly mask. But will jealous Lagambogi ruin it all? Find out in this wild and funny love story. Once upon a time, in a bustling city called London, there lived a man named Lord George Hell. He wasn't just any guy, he was a lord, which meant he had a fancy title and lots of money. But here's the thing. Lord George was super naughty. He stayed up way past bedtime, eating piles of food and drinking too much. He wore the fanciest, flashiest clothes every single day, like he was going to a party even when it was just a regular Tuesday. At 35 years old, he was a total headache for his poor parents. Lord George didn't care who saw his bad behavior. He'd strut around proudly, showing off how wicked he was. Some people, like his friend Captain Tarleton, thought his honesty about being bad was kind of cool. But most folks disagreed. They said being honest about evil stuff just made it worse. Not everyone liked Lord George. In fact, a lot of people couldn't stand him. When he walked down the street, they'd use cross to the other side to avoid him. Kids were terrified of him. They called him King Bogey because he looked so scary with his big purple face and wild outfits. Nurses would tell naughty kids, "Be good, or King Bogey will come down the chimney." He was like the monster in their bedtime stories. But Lord George? He didn't care one bit. He loved the city, its parties, its games, its fun. He didn't bother with his beautiful country house, Follard Chase, which he'd won in a dice game. He'd rather hang out at a place called Garbles, where all the wild and rowdy people went to watch shows and have a good time. Lord George wasn't just naughty, he was sneaky too. He cheated at card games all the time, hiding extra aces up his sleeve. Once, he even cheated the prince out of a huge pile of money, and then demanded it back right in front of important people. The prince, being super polite, just invited him to stay over instead of arguing. Can you believe that? Every night, Lord George would head to Garbles. He'd watch jugglers, dancers, and all sorts of performers, acting like he owned the place. He was rude, loud, and full of himself. But something was about to change. One special night at Garbles, Lord George saw a new performer, a little guy called the Pseudo Merry Dwarf. This tiny dude was amazing with a bow and arrow, shooting targets left and right, even with a blindfold on. Lord George was so impressed that he invited the dwarf to his fancy box seat and poured him a big glass of wine. "Wow, you're awesome with that bow," Lord George said. The dwarf smiled and said, "I've had lots of practice, on people." Lord George laughed, thinking it was a joke, but the dwarf's mysterious grin made him wonder. Oh, and there was a dancer named Lagambogi there too. She got mad when the dwarf said he'd met her before, but Lord George didn't care. He was having too much fun. Then came the big moment. A new show started at Garbles, starring a young actress named Jenny Mere. She played a girl locked in a tower, and when she danced, everyone cheered. Lord George couldn't take his eyes off her. For the first time ever, his heart went thump, thump, thump. He was in love. Right after the show, he rushed to her and dropped to his knees. "Jenny, marry me," he begged. But Jenny shook her head. "I can only marry someone with a saintly face," she said sweetly. "And yours?" "Well, it's not." Ouch! Lord George's face showed all his wild, wicked years, and Jenny wasn't into it. Lord George was crushed. He wandered the streets all night, feeling sad and lost. But as the sun came up, he had an idea. If Jenny wants a saintly face, I'll get one. He picked some wildflowers and marched to a shop owned by Mr. Aeneas, a guy who made masks, fake faces you could wear. "I need a mask that makes me look like a saint," Lord George told him. Mr. Aeneas found a beautiful wax mask with a kind, loving expression. He warmed it up, stuck it on Lord George's face, and filed down the edges so it looked totally real. When Lord George looked in the mirror, he didn't see the old, wicked him anymore. He saw a saint. This is it, he thought. Jenny will love me now. As Lord George left the shop, holding his flowers, he ran into Lagambogi, the dancer from Garbles. She tried to flirt with him, saying, "You've never looked at me so lovingly before." But with his new saintly face, Lord George didn't want anything to do with her. "I don't know you," he said coldly, and walked away. Lagambogi was furious. Her eyes flashed with anger, and she whispered to a spy, "Follow him!" She wasn't going to let Lord George go that easily. So there you have it. Lord George Hell went from being the naughtiest guy in town to a man chasing love with a saintly mask. Will Jenny fall for him now? Will Lagambogi get her revenge? Click on the video in your screen to find the answer. I will meet you there.